And we are live in the shame-free zone. And my guest today is JeeJee Saafir. We've got a great topic here. It's just in time for the beginning of 2021. I think a lot of us are feeling pretty excited about the prospects that maybe 2021 is actually going to be better than 2020. I'm pretty sure it will be better because I don't know that 2020 could have gotten much worse. But maybe we can make it not just better, but fabulous, huh? So JeeJee, welcome to the Shame-Free Zone.
Thank you for having me, Veronica. Happy to be here with your audience today.
I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so excited to talk about this concept that you have of falling in love with the process of things that we don't want to do. I can't wait. I am just going to be learning so much from you today because there are things I don't want to do that I know I have to do if I want to get where I want to go.
Yes.
So I'm going to just let everybody know a little bit about you. So JeeJee Saafir is a rapid transformational therapist. She's a master coach, and she's a transpersonal psychologist. Pretty cool stuff, huh? She's a firm believer that your true work in the world is in two arenas. One is the transformation of your experience of yourself and your relationships, and the other is in the rendering of your specific contribution to the world. Doesn't that sound juicy? Whatever that may be, really, seriously. She's been coaching and training smart, talented women and a few good men for over a decade. And she is most passionate about helping women come out of the closet and be their big, bold selves in every area of their lives by dismantling and dissolving the subconscious culture. Actually, I should say that subconscious, cultural, societal, childhood, and ancestral programming. Wow, we got a lot of work ahead of us. They keep us feeling stuck, guilty, shameful, fearful, and self-critical. JeeJee, lay it on us because this is the shame-free zone. And if you got tips for how we are going to get out of our shame, we're all ears.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, tips for getting out of shame. Yeah. I think first off is to know that we are our own best client, our own best coach, our own best mentor, so to speak. Yeah. And we have to recognize that. I know a lot of your listeners have probably done all the things like we do. If it's weight loss or it's relationships, it's not as if we don't try to do all the things or the things to grow our business or whatever the thing is. We find ourselves stuck, right? For whatever reason, or we don't want to do things that we feel we have to do or need to do to achieve our results. And so those stuck moments, even when we move forward and we feel like we're taking 2 steps back, are because of, often they're because of fear, you know that, self-sabotage, things from our childhood. If we ever feel deprived, that's a trigger for us to backslide. If we ever feel rejected, that's a trigger for us to backslide. If we ever feel abandoned, and that can come from anywhere in our past, or, anything can trigger us and help us self-sabotage ourselves. And everybody does it. So let's not pretend it's a common thing. All of us do it. And so tips to, well, first off, if it's something like weight loss, let's say, and you've done all the things, you try to eat well, you've done the exercise. Problem is that we are inundated with information, right? You can Google anything you want on YouTube, you can go, and we have so much information, and you try to do all the things and you try to use your willpower to make that change.
Right.
But willpower that only works in the short term. And then you're like, oh, here I am back to square one. And so you need, and this is daily practice, you do need a strategy so as you probably already know, Veronica, our thoughts create our feelings, create our actions and the behaviors that we do take. And most of what's in there is the thoughts and the emotions that's screwing us up and not helping us succeed. And a lot of times, especially for women, we do not allow ourselves to be with those emotions. We try to stuff them down so we can be effective. We try to stuff them down so we can be strong, so we can put on strong, tough faces and have hard conversations or do whatever we think we need to do. And then that just squirts out in all other ways, and we still don't succeed. And so we need to be mindful of, and I don't think we should just sit around and try to monitor our thoughts all day, because we'll go crazy. But it is the feelings that actually point us back to what we're thinking about in the moment. And I hope I don't just sit here and ramble. So I'm hoping that you jump in at any point.
Well, I do. Look, you have like, how many rules to the mind is this in this list
Oh,
you sent me?
those are the basics.
It looks like
Rules
there's
of the mind.
17 rules of the mind.
Yeah.
And one of the things that stood out for me was that if it's in our subconscious, then we can actually, maybe I don't quite understand this, but harm ourselves if we're trying to push up against that by like forcing ourselves.
Yes, if we force ourselves, not necessarily, it won't always harm us. Sometimes it works, but we're exhausted or burnt out, or, we've made a poor decision when we're trying to push through and make things happen. And nobody's going to get to their deathbed and be like, oh my God, I wish I pushed harder and worked harder. They're going to be like, I wished I focused on the things that brought me more joy and my passions. And so there are things that we do that need to be done, right? If you're in business or you're a parent, there are those things that need to be done. And there are ways to make yourself feel differently about doing those things. It is all about, well, if in my work, we just go in, we bypass your conscious mind, who keeps trying to keep you safe. They're like, oh, you say to yourself, oh, I need to, let's say you have a business. Oh, I need to market today. Right. And you sit down to try to do that. And then you decide, oh, let me go wash the dishes first. Let me go wash some clothes first, because that's your sabotage kicking in. And if you hate it, your mind's like, oh, she hates this. Let me help her sabotage herself today. She really doesn't want to do that. Let me push this resistance up so she goes to do something else right now. This is what it thinks you want it to do. Your mind will do what it thinks you want it to do.
Okay.
So instead,
instead what? What do we
do? And now this isn't for everybody. Some people need some help, but you want to start to train your mind to, even if it's not true at first. I actually enjoy marketing. I'm just using this as an example, ladies. I actually enjoy marketing because I know it's helping someone. I know it's helping my audience. I know it's helping the people I'm going to serve. I know it's helping me to connect with them. So you just have to reframe in your mind and make it feel good to actually want to do this thing. Now, some people need some guidance there, but
let's take a real life example from my own life.
Yes.
I'm an author.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I find sometimes that I seem to have some fear of success, or maybe a fear of showing up. Maybe I'm afraid of my own creativity. I'm not entirely sure, but to entice me into the process of writing, I will often play music that I really, really enjoy, that kind of expands my heart and gets me feeling really spacious and joyful. And then as I dig into the document that I'm writing, I often turn the music off because it's interfering with my thoughts. But it's what I'm doing to get myself going. I'm kind of dangling a little carrot, a reward, like we're going to get to listen to music now. Is that an effective strategy? And then the second question, what else might I do?
Okay. But we're all different. So it depends on who you are as a person, because I could tell you what I do and I don't know that will work for others. And so we have to find, first off, do you feel held back because you're worried about what other people will think about what you're writing? You unpack, what are the thoughts? What are the true thoughts? Even if they sound horrible, what's really in your head?
I think that I feel pressure around Oh my God, this is so out of the box. Some people are going to have a hard time with it. So yeah, that would be fear of what other people think.
Mhm.
And then I think the other thing that can come up for me is this piece really needs to be thoroughly researched, because I am putting something that's so revolutionary out there. I need to have as much information. And so gathering the information sometimes can be an arduous task. Educational for me, enlightening a lot of times, takes my writing in a different direction. So sometimes once I get into it, it's really fun. But I think there's some hesitation to doing something that I really enjoy and really want too. I'm not quite sure what that is, but I know I'm not the only one that suffers from it. Like people
Yeah,
kind of tamping
everybody.
down their greatness almost, you know?
Well, for me, and I'm just using me as an example because I enjoy writing and I, post on social media and other places. For me, it is I'm telling myself before I write that I'm dropping shame. I just tell my mind this is what's happening right now. I'm dropping the meaning that I've been making about whatever is going to happen as a result of me finishing this project. I'm giving no meaning, and and so this can go deep, but I decided ahead of time to not judge those who may read my work. I decide ahead of time not to judge myself about it and not make a bunch of meanings about it. That people are going to reject me and all of that stuff because you're projecting that. And then life will be like, yeah, we told you so. Right. And so after I dropped all the drama, I'm dropping guilt, I'm dropping worry, I'm dropping shame, I'm dropping all this criticism. And that's what I tell my mind, we're not doing that right now. And then I ask, I tell myself in this moment, we are excited about writing. We're excited, and the perfect words flow from my mind, my heart, and my mouth. And we do this quickly. You give yourself how much you tell yourself how much you're going to write, right? This is how long we're going to do this, how much we're going to write. This happens easily and quickly, and everything just kind of comes through me. It's
So
not,
you're
yeah.
kind of giving yourself instructions almost.
I am totally commanding myself to do what I tell it to do. If I could tell a really weird thing, I tell my period what to do.
Oh my God, this is great. Okay, I want to hear about this. How do you tell your period what to do?
Because everybody will say, oh, people who have a lot of cramps or they really feel bad when their period comes. And my big thing was always having accidents. And I tell myself when my period comes, we're not having any accidents. You're not getting on my clothes. You're not getting in my bed or my sheets in my car. It's not happening. And in fact, you come and go and I barely notice you.
Oh,
And I don't have cramps and things like that. And I promise my body does what I tell it to do.
oh my
So
goodness.
I use this in most ways in my life.
Now, I know you are a hypnotist, are you not? As well as being a psychologist, you're a hypnotist.
That is correct. I use hypnosis. I don't like to call myself a hypnotist because people think I'm on stage doing stuff to people, but
Right. But
hypnosis.
you're using hypnosis on yourself, it sounds like.
Exactly.
And this stuff really works.
Oh,
So,
1000%.
okay,
Right.
so for our viewers, how can they practice this kind of self-hypnosis? And for
So
that matter, how can I?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, if it's something that has been stopping someone for a long time and they've been doing all the things, they might want to get support to do that. And I do rapid transformational therapy. We do 1 or 2 sessions and we get rid of whatever that block is. And I install your wanting and desire to do things you don't necessarily want to do. But as far as you doing it yourself, um, one thing that I do, you do have to get yourself into a state first. And you can do that however you like, with music or not, but I do with my clients and myself. Is you want to roll your eyes up just at the top here, and you want to breathe in deeply in and breathe out, and you're holding your eye for a count of 3. And then on the 3rd breath out, you let your keep your eyeballs up and let your eyelids come down. You're taking yourself into, I don't want to say alpha state, but you're taking yourself into a state where your conscious mind isn't so much in your way right now. And I'm going
Oh,
to be honest.
that feels really good.
Yeah, it feels really good. And it takes you into a relaxed state where your conscious mind isn't barking at you. And then you are going to tell yourself what you choose. I don't even have to do it anymore. I just say so. I
Oh,
used to work in the sales job, and whatever goal we had to hit,
yeah.
I would say today I hit X, Y, Z. My customers are great. Whatever I want it to happen, I set it. And then I let the day unfold. And I know I'm me, and so that might take practice for some people, but your mind is here to do what you tell it to do. You do have to believe these things. There are areas of our lives where we don't believe that it'll do what we tell it, but it will. And I teach that. I don't know if I answered your question, but anyway.
Oh, no, you did answer the question. I
Okay.
think, because what I'm getting is that you roll your eyes up, you breathe to the count of 3, then you open your eyes, but you keep them rolled up. And really, that rolling the eyes up reminds me of what we do in my Kundalini yoga practice, where we're basically looking at our pineal gland.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
And I
then
just noticed when you took us through that exercise just now, I felt calm. A calm came over me.
exactly.
So I'm
Exactly.
getting that you're making the mind more blank so that you can impregnate it with the thoughts you want it to have.
Exactly.
And then how would you do that? Would you say it in your mind? Do you say it out loud? Do you have it written down?
You can record it if you like. And
Okay.
of course, I do hypnosis recordings for my clients, installing exactly what they want. And
Okay.
so you can do that, or you just talk to yourself before you go to sleep. You do want to make sure that's something very important. You know, they say don't go to bed mad
Yeah.
with your spouse or whoever. Do not go to bed in negative energy, because you wake up with that same energy. Don't go to bed with all the thoughts of all the things you got to do at night, because you're going to wake up in as soon as your spirit, so to speak, gets back in your body, your mind's going back to everything you were thinking about last night, right? And that's where anxiety and
Okay.
stress
All
come
right.
from.
So last night, full disclosure, I was feeling some tension. I thought that I had pretty much let go of all my tension about the inauguration today.
Oh yeah.
But I had a really, really hard time going to sleep last night. I laid down and I wasn't sleepy, and I was just and I wasn't having thoughts, like I wasn't ruminating and worrying. It's just that the anxiety that I think we were all, a lot of us might have been feeling one way or the other, was in my body. I could feel it, and it was a really hard to turn it off.
I had a client today who said the exact same thing, that she did not go to bed till 4 a.m. because of today. And I said, "Does that feel bad?" And she looked great today. I wouldn't have known she didn't go to bed.
Right.
And same reason, same exact
Wow.
thing. And so, I mean, I do have times where it's more difficult to sleep. And in those times, I get up and use that energy. But I also tell myself, if I do wake up and I'm up at hours that I don't want to be up at, I tell myself, even though you're up right now, we're going to feel good tomorrow. We're still going to have the energy. We're still going to be focused. We're still going to feel confident tomorrow. Doesn't matter what you're doing right now, body. This is what's going to happen tomorrow.
Oh,
So,
that's fascinating, Gigi.
yeah, because I don't like to be exhausted.
Well,
So, if I
because
got to be up, here it
it
is.
I wasn't doing that because I thought, "Oh, this'll work," but I was actually saying that to myself last night, because I
Yeah,
started to worry about, "Oh, no, I'm not gonna get enough sleep, and I have a big early day tomorrow," and then I was like, "Nah, nah, it's not gonna happen.
exactly.
You're gonna feel
Those are the
great."
thoughts.
Yeah.
Exactly. That makes us
Huh.
tired. Don't fight yourself. Just from this moment, this, because there's only now. This is what I choose for when tomorrow comes. Yeah.
So it would almost seem like some of us maybe are already doing some of this stuff and we don't know it, and we start to
Yes.
call it out and pay attention to it, then we can replicate that in situations where we're not doing it and
Exactly.
have it
Now,
work.
one of the times when you sabotage yourself, those are definitely the times you need to be more mindful of, because most of the time it is the self judgment. In my opinion, 100% of the time, when it's something we don't want to do, either we don't have enough knowledge about what we need to do, or we're fearful we're going to get it wrong,
Yeah.
or we're worried about what they think.
Yeah. Worried about what they think.
Yeah.
I was thinking about what you said, that if I'm worried about what they think when I'm getting ready to write something that's really out there,
Yeah.
that, one of your first go-tos was you don't judge them.
Don't exactly,
And
because you're projecting that. Yeah,
well, and it's essential as an author that I'm not feeling hostile towards my readers. So
exactly.
I really, my ears perked up when you said that. And of course, that's just such a beautiful spiritual
Yeah.
rule to live by, a spiritual precept. I won't use
Because I think also the people who get a lot of trolls in their DMs or get people with all these negative comments and stuff like that, even though you might get that every blue moon, I
Yeah.
think that if you really set the state in your body that I'm not going to judge these people, I'm not going to sit here and give meaning to what I think they're going to do in response.
Mm.
They are not going to show up that way. Not a lot of them anyway, maybe one, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's in my experience. They don't show up.
Yeah. No, as I lived as a public person, I mean, very public because I was all over television quite
Yeah,
frequently for quite some time. And it comes with the territory that you're going to get stalkers and threats. That's just part of the lifestyle.
yeah,
But I noticed that, you could feed that or you can starve it. You can
exactly. That's
not
the
give it
wolf.
energy, and it tends to dissipate or go away.
Exactly.
And certainly I've got lots of compassion for anybody who's ever been stalked or trolled or, um, harmed in any way by online bullying.
Yeah,
But yeah, if the more it lodges, goes inside, then the more power it has.
exactly. Because rejection isn't a thing. It's just something we made up in our minds that we give meaning to.
Yeah,
This
and
mean,
I went through a period of being kind of an angry activist because I was getting attacked so much.
yeah.
Um, and I actually made a decision. I was speaking at San Francisco State University um, several times a year for a particular class on sexology. And I made a decision to start paying more attention to the people that I was talking to and try to put myself in their shoes, put myself in their lives. And I noticed that this really opened my heart. And then the student reviews started changing. They went from
Mm,
hostile to really warm because
exactly.
I was loving them. They had no choice but to love me.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And if they don't love you, they don't vibe with you, they don't often show up because they're not on your wavelength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know you help people transform a lot of things. Do you ever help people with weight or nutrition issues? Like if they're wanting to adopt a healthy lifestyle, but they keep getting tempted into certain foods that they know are not good for them because they have diabetes or high cholesterol or
Yes.
something. Do you help people with that?
Now, I don't tend to know all the things that that person should do, but that's where I use the sessions, the rapid transformational sessions, because their body knows, their
Ah,
mind knows,
right.
and we install what they choose to have in their life. If they choose to have a slender body, we're installing that in their mind with
Okay.
repetition is going to command it. So this is how we end the sabotage. Many times there is something in their in their unconscious that is keeping the weight on, right? No matter what they do. And
Right.
so we go in and we go find, once we shut their mind down, because oftentimes we think we know what it is, but our minds can take us back to the absolute root cause of why this weight wants to stay on you, or
Yeah.
what's it doing to serve you and why it wants to stay. That's usually what it's there for. It thinks it's serving you. And
Yeah.
we go in and heal whatever that wound is,
Mm.
let that go. And then we install what you choose to have. We install the habits you want to make, um, um, what's unfamiliar to you, we make it familiar to you. And you listen to the hypnosis recording for 21 days. And of course, I'm there with the client to make sure that they follow through. But the recording, and once we're done with the transformation, it's done. It's
Mm.
just that you get back into your own environment, and then sometimes we get off and get off track. And so the
Yeah.
recording is to make sure we lock it in, and then I'm there just to for that accountability, when there are those few moments when we sabotage, so they make it a habit.
It
Yeah.
seems like this would also be a useful thing if somebody had like a ceiling on how much money they could make.
Oh, 1000%.
Okay. Say more about that. I'd like to hear first of all, can you give, I know you work with small business owners primarily, and if you could give us, and I think most of your clients are women, right?
Most of them, yeah.
And has it been your experience? Because this is my belief, and if I'm wrong, just correct me. That in general, women tend to have some blocks to prosperity and
Oh
accomplishment and
yeah.
success.
This one can go deep. This
Let's
one
go
can,
deep.
yeah, all of them can go deep. This one, it could be ancestral issues. We've been burned at the stake, we've been hung, we've been owned. And the feeling of having something like putting your hard work in the world, or being seen and being really visible, or being too big for your britches, or having someone own your time now that you got this money. There's stuff like that in our subconscious. And there's also maybe from your family or whoever, where this subconscious might be there, that rich people are bad. Even if you don't really think it, it might still be lingering in your energy. So there's all kinds of things in there, and we need the mind to say, hey, this is the thing. I know you think you know, but here's the real thing that's keeping this glass ceiling on for you. And I go in there and we dissolve that. And it's all energy. It's mostly it's when we can let ourselves be with the sensation. And most of the time people cry, which is great, because if we don't feel, we don't heal it. And
Let's say
we
that
let,
again. If you don't feel it, you can't heal it.
exactly. If you don't feel it, you can't heal it. I have a story where I had this boyfriend who I thought I was so in love with, and we broke up. And I was like, Miss High and Mighty and spiritual. And I was like, oh, I learned a lot from that relationship. I'm good. I don't need to do any work about this. And in a few weeks, I had this huge rash under my eyes for months. And I didn't know why. I was like, it wouldn't go away, until I realized I didn't let myself feel it. I didn't let myself own that, okay, I really did feel like a little bit of a failure. I felt like I couldn't make this work. His mom had said we weren't going to work out. So I had a lot of triggers and emotions I had just stuffed down and tried to slap spirituality and lollipops over instead of feeling it. And when I felt it, it went away.
Mm.
So we have that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I definitely came from a family that seemed to think that there was something spiritual about being poor.
Yeah.
And I remember my mom would say things like, "Why do you want more? You already have more than everybody else." So she would shame me for being aspirational. And then
Exactly.
JeeJee, I also have a past life that I can remember where I was murdered for getting too big for my britches.
I've
So
also been told I've been murdered. So yeah.
yeah, in my case, it's way back in ancient Egypt. I was thrown to a den of
Wow.
lions. It's not fun.
Ooh.
But I keep coming back to that past life as a blockage that I have to even the writing. I think, like speaking my truth, there that fear comes up over and over again. And it sounds to me like what you're talking about could really address that. If
Yeah.
anybody identifies with what you just shared about your boyfriend and what I just shared about this past life, what tips could you give them? As I mean, obviously they can come see you, but what else could you advise them?
Yeah. You want to be mindful of when you're judging yourself, notice, because our projections from ourselves become suggestions to everyone in our life.
Mm.
Uh, and like, you have that argument with your coworker or your friend or whatever, that doesn't stay in your head even though you're silently thinking about it. It goes to them. And you attract back everything they give you, whether you don't if you don't feel good enough. Anyway, I could talk about that forever. So
Oh, I think you're
tips.
right about that, though. Yeah, yes, definitely. Our
Yeah.
thoughts, our thoughts are very powerful.
Very powerful. And it's all, so you really want to be very mindful and not be afraid to feel. We grew up in this masculine world where it was like you kind of had to stuff your feelings down to live this life. and and people told you don't be too emotional and all of this stuff, but the healing happens in the sensations that you allow in your body. So if you feel stuck or you are saying bad things about yourself, okay, I'm going to feel that for a second. And it can take however long it takes. But when you go in, all of a sudden starts to dissipate and it doesn't have control over you. So let yourself breathe into it. Let yourself just feel it so it can go, because you do not want to be projecting how you feel about you to the rest of the world, because it will show you this is how you feel if you're conscious about it. I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at, I think it's rule number 8 here in the
Yeah.
rules of the mind. And he said, once an idea is there, the longer it remains, the more opposition there is to replacing it.
Yes.
And oh, that sounds so daunting, JeeJee. What do we do?
Well, we all have ideas that have been there a long time about
Yeah,
who we think
some
we
very
are. Yeah,
negative ideas.
very, very. And it's very tricky to navigate this world with elections and it's COVID and all the things.
Yes.
And so this is the time to do the work, because not only does this work change us, this work silently changes the people around us, because our brain has an aura, our heart has an aura, and it changes what happens in our lives, and it changes how people show up to us. So I would say maybe you want to, when I have thoughts that I'm not good enough or whatever it is, because we have whatever every day,
Right.
I don't try to avoid these thoughts. Okay, that's interesting. And if it's something that's really taking me out and stopping me, I'm going to feel it. Okay, I feel like shit, if I can say that. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I am going to feel that part of me that feels like shit, because I don't want it to have power over me. If that means I'm gonna cry in this moment, or I'm gonna take the moment to feel it, and however that needs to go, because that goes out. Even if you in your business, when you're selling or you're marketing, that stuff you feel goes out into that stuff, right? So I don't know if I keep saying, I don't know if I get off on a tangent. I don't know if I made it.
Well, JeeJee,
Um,
let me tell you what I'm hearing.
yes.
That we oftentimes try to control our thoughts
Yep.
by judging them, and then we shame ourselves for having those thoughts.
Exactly.
And you're telling us that we need to just accept it, be curious and compassionate, and feel it, because you can't heal it unless you feel it.
Exactly.
And then on the other side of that, then I'm guessing that we can install the new software that has a
Yes.
different message to us and to everybody around us.
That is exactly right.
Yeah,
Like
right on.
those bad that excuse my language.
Oh, it is
And
the
you
shame free zone. Feel free.
okay, you ain't shit and you ain't never gonna do this and all of that. Okay, pretend that's a baby. It's crying, it won't stop crying. You're not gonna go lock it in a room, let it cry for the entire day. You're gonna hold it, just be with it. You don't have to try to change this thought, you don't have to try to fix anything. You just have to feel it. You don't have to analyze it, make it right, wrong. Just feel it. And
JJ,
yeah,
that's actually a paradigm shift for me. Thank you. I
you're
love
welcome.
having that vision that my thoughts that are self-sabotaging or self-limiting are a baby that's crying,
Exactly.
because I'll admit, I know we're in the shame-free zone and I'm the founder of the shame-free zone, but I have had shame around self-limiting thoughts. I've thought, oh, for
Yeah.
God's sake, you've been working on yourself for so long. Why are you still having that stupid thought?
Exactly. We all have that.
Yeah. But if it's a crying baby, then I want to hold it. I want to say they're there.
Exactly. That's exactly it. I don't have to try to change you. I'm gonna breathe into it until the sensation lessens itself. It lets you go. All
Yeah.
that stuff lets you go. And your breath is really key to letting it go and
I
feeling
don't,
it.
are you familiar? Yeah, the breath. Okay, yes.
Hmm.
The breath is so key to everything.
So key.
Us becoming alive. Are you familiar with internal family systems?
I've
IFS?
heard, but no.
Yeah, I mean, what you just said reminds me of that, because I have a therapist who's working with me around EMDR and IFS, because I've got complex trauma from a very abusive childhood, and
Are you
I
ready to let that go in one session? We can do it in one session.
In
Okay, go
one
ahead.
session. That's what you do for your clients, one session.
Yeah, one session. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what I heard you say when you talked about that baby that's crying, very similar to IFS. Because IFS goes in and finds our different parts and shows compassion and curiosity and tries to see what they're trying to protect. And
Exactly.
yeah, so that just felt a little bit similar to me.
Yeah. Only time that I think we need to dig deep and see what's really there if it is a absolute ongoing chronic state of sabotage, something that just is ruining your life and it won't stop. But other things, the simple, you don't have to analyze this negative thought. You don't have to see where it came from right now.
Yeah.
Just be with it and let
Yeah,
it
and
go.
I think probably your work is very targeted to getting outcomes for people around specific things, whether it's weight loss or uh, prosperity or quitting smoking. Am I right about that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
This work has gotten people pregnant, has
Uh-huh.
cured diseases.
Yeah.
I don't tend to do the pregnancy thing. I'm sorry. I can refer people, but
Yeah.
yeah, your mind is so powerful and it can help you change your body and your life.
Yeah. Well, now you've got a background in psychology, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see how your work is complementary to some of the other branches of psychology, or do you feel like maybe some of those different modalities in psychology are kind of antithetical to your work? Just kind of want, because I have a background in psychology, just wondering how you hold that.
Well, I mean, I took all the psychology classes, so I mean, I've got it all. I did all the normal psychology. This work touches it's counseling. It takes all the best from counseling, takes all the best from coaching, takes all the best from psychology, neuroscience, and therapy,
Mhm.
and I blend in just who I am and because I've done these things in my own life and I blend that into my work. So I
Yeah.
don't negate anything that came before us because we wouldn't be where we are. So
And do your clients have just one session with you, or do they work with you over time?
it depends on what it is.
Yeah.
Of course, most of my clients, if it's just requires one session or two, that happens in about 30 days because I hold the container that they get through their hypnosis audio. I check in with them. I don't leave anybody to linger and just say, hey, we're done, because I know you're going to backslide. I know you're going to get back into your own environment. I know you're up against your own triggers and things. And so I don't just leave them and say this session is over, even though the work is done.
Right.
I make sure we lock in the work. And so that's 30 days generally. But I do have clients, of course, because I work with, people in business, and I do teach practical things when we're in business beyond that. And so, yeah, it just depends on what I'm working with them for.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how deep their issue is. Most of the time, though, one session, no more than 2 or 3, is done with whatever they're going
Wow,
through.
that's amazing. So
Yeah,
unlike a lot of coaches, you don't have like a 6-month or 9-month programs.
I do not at this moment, but I mean, there is something coming out of me around being really able to self-coach, number one, and number two, really be able to help other people in your life
Yeah.
doing it. So I don't
Well,
know what that looks like yet, but that's brewing in my heart. So we'll see.
something's being birthed. Well, I can't wait to find out what it
Yeah.
is. JeeJee, this has been a really transformative conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
I'm
you for having me.
wondering if you want to share with our viewers how they can contact you so they can get that amazing one session that's going to change their life.
Absolutely. You can reach me on just email me. It's the easiest. Or if you see me on Facebook, go ahead and DM me. I'm JeeJee. And my email is love@jeejeesaafir.com. love@JeeJeeSaafir.com. So JeeJee, I say Saafir or Saafir. So excuse me if I went into my old way of saying it.
Oh,
But
that's
yeah.
okay. It's your last name. You can say it any way you
Yeah.
want.
So yeah, my dad said Saafir, my mom said Saafir, so whatever. Anyway, so
Oh,
yeah,
okay. And I Saafir, Saafir,
yeah.
Saafir.
So
Maybe we should just put them together, Saafir, Saafir.
I just go by JeeJee, but since my last name's on there, there it is. Love at
Yeah.
JeeJeeSaafir.com. If you need help with any major trauma or weight loss or business issues or, all the things, inquire and I'll see if I'm the best person to serve you.
Well, JeeJee, your name's beautiful, and so are you.
Thank you,
And I really
Veronica.
appreciate you
Thank
bringing
you.
your beautiful rules of the mind and ways that we can work with our minds, because that's the kind of work that I do with my clients too. Not
Yes.
at all your work, but I work with people's minds in different ways. And
Yes, ma'am. And thank you for sharing your true stories. That's what I like. We're not trying to be perfect here, right? So I appreciate that.
no.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
I am, I'm going to sign off now if I can figure out how all the buttons work. And I'm just sending you and all our viewers so much love today. To me, today is an incredibly special day. We've got our
It is.
first woman vice president, first African American vice president, first Asian American vice president. What a day.
It just felt like a moment of peace today.
Oh, yes.
It just felt like
and reverence and dignity and
it did.
hope.
It did.
I couldn't help but think about all the little 8-year-old girls around the world who saw Kamala Harris today and thought, someday that could be me.
Yeah, I did drop a tear or two, so it was great. Yeah. Well, thank you again.
Sending you much love.
All right.
Bye.
Ciao.